Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Raven 3. On today's glorious adventure, we're going to be talking about the loveliness that is hands. And to start off with hands, well, we're going to start off with a circle. And then from this circle, what we are going to do is we're going to change its rotation, its X and Y, to 90, and then also change the amount of edges and vertexes it has from this big number to 6. Then we're also going to scale it down just to make it so that it's the rough size of what our hand opening would be normally. Alrighty, right about there. And then once we get that, we're going to duplicate it so that way we have it for later. And then we'll go ahead, hide our base model and our other circle there. And then we will begin the glorious modeling section here. Alrighty, from here, what we're gonna do is we're going to widen the sides on both sides, just so that we can get that baseline of the finger arches. From there, we're gonna make 16 edge loops on the top and bottom. With those 16 edge loops, we're gonna make faces in the middle, 3 over on each side, doing faces there as well. And then we will also delete the vertices here on the middle of each face, or dissolve them, not delete them. And then what we'll also do is hit a quick little edge loop here in the middle of each face, just so that way when we do subdivisions, it all works out kind of nice. And then what we're going to do is we're going to deselect the center parts and keep that outer edge, and then what we're going to do is we're going to pull it back just a little bit, just towards the end of the knuckles. Then we're going to merge down the 2 vertexes up at the top and bottom of the hand, then grab that back edge loop, pull it all the way back to get the rest of that hand style, or palm base, I should say. Alright, once we get that there, we're going to scale it up a little bit, just so that we can get that nice little angle to get everything nice and clean, clean shapen, and everything else looks good. That way we get that nice taper. Alrighty, and then from there, we're going to edge loop it twice, go on to the side that we need to model for the thumb, take that one vertex there and just give it a solid quick kick in the boots. Then we'll grab all of those little edge loops areas and then pull it out to the side. Once we pull it out to the side, we'll scale it down a little bit and move it around just so we can figure out exactly the placement of it and what looks good to us visually. Then what we're going to do is we're going to grab the bottom vertexes, pull them down a little bit just to get a little bit of extra texture, and then also the 3 vertexes on the side, pull them up so that way it gives the thumb area a little bit of extra thickness. Alright, from there we're going to continue to do some tweaks here just to make everything look good for us. And I keep pushing the F key by accident to fill in that face. But anyways, fast forward a little bit just so we can kind of ignore a lot of those tweaks, because everyone's going to have their own tweaks and all of them are going to look different in their own way. Alrighty, now coming by, we're going to hit that subdivision and then also check the faces. We are good. I just do it just in case, or the face orientation just in case anything doesn't look good. I just want to make sure everything's nice and good. And then we'll extrude that back and pull it down just a tad, so that way we can see exactly what kind of goes wrong. Or not goes wrong, but see if we could get everything kind of organized and uniform and hand-like. Then we'll do some sculpt tweaks, pulling up at the top part of the hand, get it a little more height to it. Also pushing in on the bottom and pulling around that thumb area to give it a little bit more extra texture. And then we also try and get that curve going on the fingers as well, pulling back the part of the thumb and or sorry, not the thumb, the pinky and the pointer finger, and then pulling out kind of a little bit around that middle finger and index finger area, just so that we can make sure that everything looks nice and clean. But with all these sculpt tweaks, everyone's going to be different, everyone's going to have different hands. So just so that everyone has just a general idea of what I'm doing for this area for myself. All right. Then we'll go ahead and apply that subdivision modifier and then clean up some of that topology, new topology that popped up, kind of these areas, merge them at the center, and then kind of move them to be roughly aligned with the rest of the polygons, and not polygons, but the edge flow lines, so that way everything looks nice and clean and nice and proper. Bends nice and just looks nice on the eyes, which is perfect and exactly what we want for this type of model. Or just any model in general, just so that we can make sure that everything is nice and clean and get it all nice and perfect as we can see. All right, from here, we'll get that circle that we had earlier, and we'll go ahead and extrude it to the length of the finger. And I'm a little bit trying to be a little bit obsessed with proportions here because I'm terrible with proportions. This is my first time doing anything like it. But anyways, you scale the tip down, and then you loop cut it twice, and then loop cut the front side again, just so that you can get part of that finger. And then what you're gonna do is grab some of the vertexes up front, move them around. I haven't filled in the faces yet, but give it a subdivision surface. Gotta do the proper way to do it here, which is just fill in the faces at the bottom or facing, and then just grabbing one from the side. But anyways, then once you get your subdivision, after you get that face, apply it, and then loop cut it again towards the front. That's going to be the end of your nail bed. And then what we're going to do here is from the top and sides, we're going to be pulling to get that top side of that nail bed, as you can see right there. And then what we'll also do is kind of cut in that fingernail itself, terminating the edges for proper edge flow. Moving things around, I do end up giving it a edge seam there, just so that, or not seam, but just a little crease so that way I can see more clearly where that nail is. Flattening that top of that nail bed because your nail is just a little bit flatter than the rest of your finger, but just to get everything out of the way that's what we're doing here. Then we kind of round out that nail, moving that topology around. End up going a little bit overboard and eventually move that back, but our goal here is just to get it nice and clean so that so everything looks nice and optimized. And then we'll separate that first loops and then fill in those faces and then pull those in so that way we actually get a full detached nail, so that way you can get longer nails if you want or shorter nails, just dependent on how you need that character model. Then what we do is we get the edge loops, the supporting edge loops for that finger, so as it bends, it actually bends properly, and instead of clipping into itself, which is the one thing that you do not want. We do that both for the front joint and the back joint of your fingers, and then we do a quick once-over, make sure everything looks nice and clean, do a lot more sculpt tweaks here, adding the extra definition of the fingers, making sure that everything looks good. Now, granted, this is all just going to be different for each person, so honestly, don't take this as a full guide to exactly what you need to do, just as more or less a quick reference of what I'm doing. If you're trying to use these as a tutorial, I highly recommend, once again, checking out 2am. He does a really good job of explaining how to do hands, and that's the videos that I'm using to actually do this myself. Alright, from that, we're going to separate all of the fingers and delete all of the not vertexes, but delete all the unneeded faces. Make sure that I scale all of the fingers to the proper size. Make sure everything looks relatively alright and organized before we actually get them all into place. And as you can see, I'm moving around, scaling, moving, doing more of those general tweaks to what I see is the main issue with these hands. Then eventually we'll get the scale right, and then we will move to a point to join all of them. I did save a little extra in case I wanted to go back and figure out if anything looked wrong. But eventually here, we will go on with scaling, merging, and making sure everything looks relatively correct in the terms of the hand. Here it is rotating, making sure it gets to more of a natural hand seating position versus a kind of very flat hand. Because the last thing you want is a flat hand, because flat hands don't really make the best hand. But it does take a moment to actually get it, but then you bridge your edge loops and make sure that everything looks nice and clean. And then after you bridge those edge loops, sometimes they kind of are a little weird with you, and then you gotta do some weirdness here. I actually learned a farther trick. This is a future notice, but it's all good. Well, that'll be in a different video. But once you bridge all of those, what I do is I go ahead and relax the center part of each finger. You'll see that here in a second. But always tweaking, making sure everything looks nice. Here it is, the relaxing of those center edge loops, kind of making it more of a clean finish here on the inside of the hand itself. Then, as always, doing some more sculpt tweaks, making sure that everything looks nice and clean. Once everything looks nice and clean, we'll go ahead and start to worry about the thumb itself. Alright, there we just added some seam loop, or not seam loops, but basically a little painting trick to get everything, if we needed to edit differently. But once we join that thumb, we're gonna go ahead and try and rotate it to the side of our model, and then eventually we'll get it there to the point where we can bridge those loops, and then again, multiple more sculpt tweaks, and here we are with the hand itself. It is not my proudest work. I do have to say that it is definitely not proportionally accurate whatsoever. I definitely need to banish myself to studying hands profusely. But that'll come at a different time. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to comment anything you need, but thank you so much, and have a good one. Peace.